now then, let's talk about America, how that further evolved in America, that concept. When America was trying to build out the country by taking over the land from, or stealing the land from the Native Americans, and they were creating these large farms, of course, these large farms needed labor. And they didn't want to pay for the labor in the classical sense that people pay a decent wage for a decent day's work. So they came up with these schemes to get cheap labor. One of the main schemes initially was the indentured servants. So people in Europe, particularly poor people living in England, and especially the Irish, would agree to come over and work for a certain period of time, 5 to 7 years, and that would be their period of indenture, with the understanding that after they completed their 5 or 7 year period to pay off their fare and to pay off their debt, they would be freed and they would be given land. That scheme worked to a certain point, but then the word got back to England that some of these rich white landowners were not giving up the land at the end of the period of indenture. And also they were passing rules that if you violated certain rules and regulations on the given farm, that your period of indenture could be extended. So in other words, they were hustling these people, they were working them, they were not honoring the terms of the agreement. And what that meant is, number one, less people were willing to get on the boat and come over to the United States of America and be indentured servants. Secondly, what that meant was the people that were already here and who were trapped were becoming increasingly frustrated. Now, who were the indentured servants? Well, like I said, poor white people, and I want you to keep that in mind, from England, and Irish people. In England, the English people thought of the Irish people as subhuman. The English people oppressed the Irish, talked about them, referred to them as being inside-out Africans. And they meant that in a demeaning way. Had no love, did not identify with them as being their quote-unquote white brothers. So you've got white indentured servants, you've got African indentured servants, and to some extent you have Native Americans, but to a lesser degree, working in this indentured status. Becoming increasingly unhappy, dissatisfied with the fact that the system seems to benefit a few white elite landholders and everyone else is getting the short end of the stick. Along comes a guy named Samuel Bacon, and Bacon is not poor. He's actually a very wealthy landowner himself. He's white. He's actually a cousin to the wife of the governor of Virginia, and he's unhappy with the fact that the governor of Virginia has created or entered into a treaty with the local Native American tribe not to take any of their land in exchange for peace. Bacon didn't like that because he wanted to expand his land holdings so that he could make more money, economics. So what Bacon did is he organized the indentured servants. That includes the whites, the people of African descent, the Native Americans. He said these elite white people are oppressing us. We need to rise up and overthrow their system of government and take it by force. And they rose up and did exactly that, or they attempted to do that. They burned down Jamestown, that celebrated first place where the Pilgrims landed, and all of the things that you've studied and heard about in American history. They burned it to the ground. So much so, the progression of their uprising was so severe that the governor had to leave the state momentarily. And when he left, he met up with a contingency of British troops, and they came back in and they put the rebellion down. But after they put the rebellion down, the white people, the elite landowners, the English elite, were so shaken by that. They met with themselves and they said, look, we have to do something. These people will do it again. We are outnumbered. We got to find a way to divide them so that we may conquer them. So in 1676, for the very first time, the elite English, who previously despised the Irish and other poor white people, said to the people that were white, indentured servants, hey, listen, you're better than the rest of those. You're better than the Africans. You're better than the Native Americans because you're white. And because you're white, we're going to give you more privileges. We will go ahead and make sure that once you finish your indentured, you will get some land, even though ultimately they gave them the least desirable land. But they did give them some land. But more significantly, they gave them the right to control and to manage and to supervise and to dominate people of African descent, to look down their noses, to despise those people as being beneath them, less human than them. And that was the point at which whiteness, as we understand it, was created, came into existence in American history.